para himayin pa natin itong naging sona ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. Kasama po natin si Attorney Jesus Falsis para pag-usapan itong naging talumpati ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. Sir, unang katanungan, general assessment po muna dito sa naging talumpati ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos.
Well, the state of the nation is the state of accountability, and the state of the nation is also the state of gut issues. So nag-open ang ating Pangulo with a very strong soundbite. And of course, it's the elephant in the room that he has to address. So yun yung una niyang in-address, which is the closure for the flood control scam. And it seems for him, the ending is with the filing of cases with the former speaker. But of course, I'm sure madaming tao na may tanong din doon na kung the buck stops with the former speaker lang, di ba? Because you still have Senate President Chis Escudero, former Senate President. You have the other DPWH secretaries. And of course, for the anti-Marcos, for the pro-Duterte, you have the President himself. Oo. Pero maganda yung kanyang soundbite. So, nandun nagsimula yung state of accountability, the state of the nation, which is Pangulo daw siya ng Pilipinas. Hindi siya Pangulo ng pamilya niya, hindi siya Pangulo ng kaibigan niya, which is actually a variance, medyo variation siya ng mga soundbites ni na Erap, ni na Pinoy, about yung walang pamilya, walang kaibigan. Pero ngayon ang variation ay hindi ako Pangulo ng pamilya ko, hindi ako Pangulo ng kaibigan ko. Pangulo daw siya ng Pilipinas. So, it's a good opening, di ba? Pero of course, pwede din kasi siyang for the show. Madaming nag-iisip, it's a for the show statement because sa totoo lang wala pa namang kaso against the former speaker. Nagsabi lang yung ombudsman na we are initiating a preliminary investigation, which is actually ang tagal na. Ngayon lang parang magsisimula. So that's also a question. Parang hinabol ba yun? Para lang merong masabi sa SONA, which is both good and bad. Don't get me wrong, no? Aside from that, bago ka pa magkaroon ng follow-up questions, sabi ko kanina, the state of the nation is also the state of gut issues. So I think nakinig ang Pangulo sa mga advisors niya na maghahanap yung mga tao ng gut issues. Inflation, taxes, kuryente. At yung mga pinalakpakan kanina kay Pangulo, most of them will involve gut issues aside yung state of accountability with the former speaker, no? Yung taxes in terms of tax exemption, itataas yung income tax to 350,000 magiging exempted among other proposals. Siyempre yung Sariling Kuryente Act, solar panels, issue yan sa mga taong gustong magtipid, parang pinapahirapan daw sila mag-install ng solar panels ngayon sa mga bahay nila. By Meralco, gusto ni Presidente magkaroon ng batas about that. And of course, yung mga earth-shaking. Baka ito yung earth-shaking na sinasabi na announcements niya Yusek Claire Castro, no? Maliban yung kay former speaker, it is about the President talking about nuclear energy. It is about the President talking about Sariling Kuryente Act and yung systems loss charges. Among other things, no? The SONA was very comprehensive, pero nasabi mo nga kanina, maybe we'll get to that later, may mga bagay ding hindi nasabi.
Puntahan muna natin doon sa accountability, no? Very strong message yung nabanggit niya. Hindi ako presidente ng hindi ako pangulo ng pamilya, hindi ako ang pangulo ng aking kaibigan, ako ay pangulo ng Pilipinas at ang tungkulin ko ay sa inyo, mga aking kapwa Pilipino. What's the goal behind making that kind of statement public?
Before I zoom in, no, yung mga statement ni Pangulo na parang presidente ako ng mga kapwa Pilipino, ng mga kababayan, and then he ended on the West Philippine Sea and nationalistic or patriotic tone. So sa simula, actually, he was already invoking itong sense of nation or sense ng mga kababayan. Parang maliban doon sa sinabi ko kanina, accountability and gut issues, parang ang SONA niya is also the state of patriotism or nationalism. But zooming in on the actual statement niya about the former speaker, actually very short and sweet, ang bilis. Parang lang talaga, he had to get it out of the way kasi nga, siya nagsimula last year ng flood control, he has to answer it right now. The other thing that we have to note is yung kanyang medyo pained na voice, no? Parang walang acting parang very natural or normal na talagang sinabi niya masakit sa kanya If I recall correctly, no, may sinabi siyang words na kahit masakit sa akin. And yung pagsabi niya noon, along with the other sound bites, talagang shows na he was pained to say it. Pero out of duty talaga, dahil Pangulo daw siya ng Pilipinas, walang kaibigan, walang pamilya. So, Hopefully, seryoso yon. But of course, we have to balance that with due process. Kahit the former speaker is very much demonized or vilified, he is also entitled to due process. Much like the Vice President. Ang daming binigay na due process sa ating pangalawang Pangulo bago siya finally nalilitis ngayon, no? Pero yung ating former speaker, yung final or ginagawang proseso ng ombudsman, let's be clear, wala pang actually na-file. And then, syempre, meron din yung mga elephant in the room. Ito yung gusto ko nang punta kasi nakadikit mismo kay former speaker. Ang hindi din nasabi ay yung role ni Senator Chis Escudero. Because key leader, yes, ang former speaker, pero key leader din ang Senate President. If we follow the logic na most corrupt budget ang 2025 and madaming insertions nangyari sa BICAM with Congressman Zaldico, but si former speaker, hindi kasi siya nakapirma sa BICAM report. Ang nakapirma sa BICAM report, unprecedented, never nangyari sa kasaysayan, the Senate President was part of BICAM 2025. So, that's the elephant in the room then for the President because ang dating nga for him, the buck stops with the former speaker when it comes to the flood control scam. Pero madaming magtatanong, asan yung Senate President? Na madami na ding narinig ang taong bayan from the Blue Ribbon, from the budget insertions, etc. Among other people, I'm not just saying Senate President Chis Escudero lang din dapat yung panagutin. Parang madami pang kailangan panagutin, pero ang nasabi lang ay former speaker and I think a contractor. Parang may na-mention si Pangulo tungkol sa isang congressman. Even the contractors, ang dami pa din diyang elephant in the room. Because doon sa mga kinakausap niya in the room kanina, around 10 to 20 are contractors na madami pang dapat kasuhan. At sabi naman ni Ombudsman, we believe in the Ombudsman, sana gawin niya, no? Na madami pa siyang kakasuhan. Hindi lang tong nauna, may nauna na. Kanina na-issue ng warrant. Hindi ko alam kung naka-attend siya ng SONA. Si Congressman Jojo Ang of the Uswag, Ilonggo. Hindi ko alam kung na-aresto na siya kanina. Hindi ko din alam kung non-bailable kasi may conditions para maging non-bailable yung graph. Graph ang kaso ni Congressman Jojo Ang. But aside from Jojo Ang, syempre yung hinahanap ng isang maingay na kongresista, si Congressman Leandro Libisne, hinahanap niya na makasuhan si Congressman Edwin Garjola. Those are the elephant in the room when it comes to the flood control cases. Baka sa tingin ng Malacanang, matuldukan na yung issue na hindi na niya hawak yon na kay Ombudsman na, pero madami pa ding hinahanap ang mga tao na ibang mga personalities na narinig natin nabulatlat ng ICI, nabulatlat ng Blue Ribbon, nabulatlat ng public, ng mga media outlets like Inquirer and other investigative reports. Madami pang dapat kasuhan So, does the buck stop really with the former speaker? But we commend the President for saying strongly na walang kaibigan, walang pamilya, Pangulo siya ng Pilipinas.
Kasi if you look at it, this is a common conversation when you talk about the flood control scandal, yung big fish versus small fish. Sino ba yung mga big fish? Sino ba yung mga small fish?
And we have to correct. Baka sinasabi kasi ng iba, diba, may narrative na walang big fish na nahuli. Actually, madami na. Kaso, madami pang kailangang hulihin. You have Senator Bong Revilla. That cannot be a small fish. You have Senator Jingo Estrada. That cannot be a small fish. Although hindi related sa flood control, si Senator Marcoleta, that will show still na walang exempted. Lahat will be held accountable. So, nakakulong si Senator Marcoleta. Manny Bonoan is not a pro-Duterte. Alay siya ng administrasyon. Kasi naging DPWH secretary siya ng administrasyon. Of course, ang question lang is kung magiging state witness ba. Sana hindi. Kasi baka ang dating nun sa tao is pagkaalyado nga, bibigyan ng lusot or way out. Si Bong Revilla lang so far ang administration alay kasi alyansa candidate siya. So kung maparusahan din at ma-hold accountable si Manny Bonoan, at least baka mapatunayan ng Pangulo ng administrasyon na talagang walang sinasanto. Including if merong kaso kay former speaker, but again, that will require evidence. That will require due process. Ang concern nga doon sa ombudsman is ang evidence nila sa former speaker ay composed of the 8 Marines or yung affidavit ng 8 Marines and Orly Gutesa. Although, meron yatang ibang ebidensya, so sana yung ebidensya na iba ay malakas kasi kung 8 Marines lang at Orly Gutesa, medyo questionable yun.
You mentioned kanina, no, may mga pangalan na hindi na-mention and I want to zone in. Mahirap kasi ihiwalay yung conversation about the Duterte allies, especially that this SONA happened in the middle of the impeachment trial, and some of the allies of Vice President Sara Duterte are claiming political persecution sa
And did
kanilang
not
mga side.
attend
And
the
did not
SONA.
attend. So do you think it was a conscious decision from the president to not mention some of the allies of the vice president, including Senator Jinggoy Estrada? Hindi niya minention doon sa kanyang report. Do you think it was a conscious decision from the president not to mention any of the allies of Vice President Duterte?
Well, conscious decision yan, syempre, kasi ang tirada nga sa Pangulo ay parang iniisa-isa ang mga kalaban. You have Senator Robin and Senator Alan saying that, pero by only mentioning former speaker, ang gusto niyong iparating, wala akong sinasanto, hindi ko kayo iniisa-isa, lahat kayo. Pero kung kasama kayo, parang yun yung message. So conscious decision yun, definitely.
I want to talk about yung mga, you mentioned na yung mga absent natin ng mga senators, including Senator Amy Marcos. Kasi
pero mayroon ding mga present.
Because I found it interesting, no? Doon sa komento nga ni President Marcos na hindi ako pangulo ng aking pamilya, ganyan. Yet that happened in the middle of his very public feud with his sister, na si Senator Amy Marcos, who's also not present here. So, balik rin natin yung perspektibo. Ano yung mensahe na gusto nyo iparating ng mga absent na senador? Ano yung basa mo dito?
Kung babalik rin natin, parang ang sinasabi ni Pangulo ay, hindi kayo senador ng pamilya nyo, hindi kayo senador ng mga kaibigan nyo, senador kayo ng Pilipinas. So, they should have still attended. They should have sucked it up, do their job, or attended the SONA. Bakit nila trabaho to attend the SONA? Because they have to hear the President's legislative priorities or accomplishments, so that itong mga senators as legislators, they can adjust accordingly kung ano ba yung kailangan nilang mga ipasa na batas. Pwede naman nila sabihin, of course, na nanood sila remotely. Pero syempre, iba yung nandun ka na wala kang tinatago, na wala kang pinupolitika. Because we have to remember, VP Leni, Senator De Lima, they attended the 2016 SONA despite si Pangulong Duterte noon na trinete na binantaan na niya si De Lima. By May, after he won, before July 2026, binantaan na niya sa De Lima na papaimbestigahan kita, etc. Of course, it's all bogus, no? But De Lima attended because she was innocent and she knew she did nothing wrong. And trabaho lang, walang personalan, senador siya, she has to attend. So itong mga absent na DDS senators or pro-Duterte senators, it seems like, no, from the minority, it seems like they're not doing their job. But ipasok ko na kagad, di ba? Umattend,
yes.
Ang
I was
dalawang
about to ask.
Villar.
What does it say?
Ang isang, syempre, Senator Bongo. Well, at least sila, they are doing their job na parang walang personalan, trabaho lang. Or it could indicate na they are not as close-minded to the President and to the majority. To the majority senators, meaning, mas nakakausap pa din sila ng majority or ni Pangulo. So, in terms of impeachment, will that impact the impeachment? Not necessarily. But it is a better indicator than the ones who went absent.
Kasi yun nga, kung titingnan natin yung bilang, ilan yung hindi umattend? 5. Plus yung dalawang nakakulong, isang nawawala.
At kung idadagdag mo yon sa 13 na majority, that 16. Is 16. And wala tayong sinasabi sa number na 16, except it just so happens to be the same magic number to convict.
I think it's something to take note of. Nabanggit mo nga na
for any observer, yes.
Indication lang. We're not trying to conclude
it's not
anything.
Determinative, but it could indicate certain alliances can shift or open-minded sila. Yun ang at the very least.
Punta naman ako doon sa gut issues you mentioned, no? Because
ang
dami. But every year, no, it seemed that the trend ay yung big announcement ay kung ano yung mainit ng panahon around the SONA. So a couple of years ago, it was Pogo. Kasi nung time na yun yung mainit na usapin. Last year, it was flood control because yun yung time na sunod-sunod yung bagyo, sunod-sunod yung baha. Ngayon, viral. Yung mga matataas na singil ng kuryente. So,
at mga Meralco bills na pinopost.
It seems na
sa social media.
Tuloy yung ganong klaseng pattern with the president's speeches.
Well, the reason why that pattern exists is because we're a democracy. And so the president has to respond to the needs of the majority or to the sentiments of the majority. Kasi yun ang point ng democracy. He has to represent and address the interests and welfare of the people. So I am not surprised na ang malalaking mga sinabi niyang issues ay gasolina o langis at kuryente. Kasi you have the Middle East crisis and the price of oil going up, which affects the price of kuryente.
Yes.
Actually, hindi naman kuryente yung primary problem. Ano lang siya, na-affect lang din siya ng price of oil. But, ang independent na issue dyan sa kuryente, may oil crisis man or wala, is yung systems loss issue na madaming tao, they feel it's unfair na sinisingil tayo for electricity that we did not consume. Kasi yung systems loss, kung isi-simplify natin yan ay yung mga kuryente na nawala by transmitting it and generating it, pero hindi nakaabot sa consumer at hindi naman ikaw ang nag-consume. Pero sinisingil sa'yo. Pag-usapan natin lang a bit, no, indulge me. Kasi ang problema dyan, pag inalaw natin ang electric companies to pass it on to consumers, merong tinatawag na perverse incentive. Ang perverse incentive ay normally, ang isang corporation, dahil profit motivated, gusto niyang gandahan yung serbisyo to get more consumers, to get more profit. Pero ito, pag pinapasok niya yung systems loss, ang systems loss kasi kunwari may nanakaw na kuryente or mayroong inefficiency sa pag-deliver niya ng kuryente, walang incentive sa kanya na mag-improve ng services. Anyway, binabayaran naman yung systems loss eh. So kapag inalis yung systems loss na yan, mafo-force ngayon si electric company na I have to make sure na walang systems losses. Otherwise, pasanin ko yan. So yun yung magandang incentive. Sa reality ngayon, sa status quo, may perverse incentive. So tama lang na alisin yun.
Do you think it's still possible to pursue this with the remaining 2 years of the president? Kasi kailangan pa mag-amend ng mga batas para maging katotohanan or maging realidad itong mga nabanggit ng Pangulo.
Pag gusto naman magpasa ng batas ng mabilis, kaya naman yan. For example, yung excise tax sa fuel or yung suspension, di ba? Giving the powers to the president, kaya naman yan eh. Like yung travel tax, abolition of that sa lower house, they pass it immediately. Ang bottleneck usually nasa Senado. And ang problema din natin, busy sila sa impeachment trial. So sa House, sigurado kung walang problema dyan, mapapasa nila yan kagad sa sariling kuryente and abolition of systems loss. Ang tanong na lang ay sa Senado, sana maka-multitasking sila.
Wouldn't that backfire though? Kasi yun nga, isang natin, masa issue to eh. Regardless kung anong side of the political fence ka naroon, it's a masa problem eh, na kahit sino ay makarelate. So kung hindi ito tatrabahuhin ng mga senador, wouldn't that backfire sa kanila?
Kasi ang dami pa nilang pending, no? Yung political dynasty bill, which sa lower house may napasa na sila, although hindi perfect. Pero ang hindi pa din nakakapasa, kaya hindi sila makabycam at hindi mo mabigay kay Pangulo yung batas, eh sa Senado. So, the pressure, double pressure will be on the senators. Kasi madami sa kanila re-electionists sa 2028. So, actually, magandang opportunity to for one or many of them to claim that issue na, bill ko yan, oo, ako nag-author niyan.
Para kapag dating ng election, yun ibebenta, ipapronta.
Parang Kiko Pangilinan Agriculture, parang Bam Aquino Education.
So, isa pang highlight nitong SONA ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, yung kanyang proposal to support the middle class and small business through tax relief. No, una, palawakin na exemption sa income tax, isasama ang mga kumikitas na hindi lalampas sa 350,000 kada taon at karampatang pagbaba ng income tax sa iba pang manggagawa. Pangalawa, mga maliliit na negosyo ay hindi napapatawan ng minimum corporate income tax. Pangatlo, para mapanatag ang loob ng taong bayan, pagbibigay ng amnesty para sa mga di nabayarang buwis tulad ng income tax, estate at donor at VAT at multa sa mga kaakibat ito. How realistic is this? Sounds good on paper, but how realistic is this? Especially, do you think na-consult na kaya ito sa Department of Finance before ito?
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. Kasi siya nagsabi. Tsaka kahit hindi na-consult, it will move mountains. Gagalaw yung DOF. But very realistic kasi madaming tao, actually those in the know, no? Dati nang may estate tax amnesty eh. Ine-extend from Duterte to PBBM time. So this will just be another extension if we're talking about estate tax. Ang ginawa lang ni Pangulo, in-expand niya to income and donors tax in terms of amnesty for penalties, no? So that's one issue. Very realistic yun. Yung sa income tax, yung exemption, very realistic din kasi si President Duterte, yung train law niya, tsaka yung iba naman niyang tax reform laws, did not come early in his administration 2016 to 2019. It came 2019 to 2021. So, kayang-kaya yung ihabol. Basta priority measure yan. And of course, again, another pressure or burden for the senators. Kasi sa lower house, hindi ako nagdududa na mapapasa nila yan agad. It's the senators na magkaka-bottleneck.
I like your observation about nagsimula on a patriotic tone, no? And ended in another patriotic tone. Because that's definitely another highlight of the speech of the president. His comments, he did not directly mention China, but it's the nation China, but very clear naman kung ano yung...
It's quite obvious.
Obvious kung ano yung tunguhan nung kanyang sinasabi.
Especially when he said the word racism.
We are not greedy, we are not racist, we are not liars, we are respectful, and we are dignified. We are Filipinos and we do not yield. One question. Do you think, ano sa tingin ninyo yung dahilan bakit hindi na minention? Yung why he did not direct his message to China? Wouldn't there be more power in his statement had he directed it to China?
Well, as you said, it's quite obvious even without naming, alam natin China. So that's actually called diplomacy. Diplomacy is being able to say things without being offensive. So he said the right thing, which is to appeal to us without offending China. Kasi pwede naman niyang sabihin.
May deniability.
Yes, plausible deniability. Hindi naman kayo sinasabi ko, general values, general principle ko yan eh. Kung natamaan kayo, problema niyo yun. But of course, he will not say that. No? Again, that's diplomacy in reality, which is to be able to say things without saying it.
Commonly, no, pag pinakinggan mo yung speech sa talumpati ni Pangulong Marcos, even in the recent years, typically nasa dulo talaga itong West Philippine Sea, China foreign relations issue, no? Bakit gano'n? Is it more on the patriotism side to end on that note?
My guess is, it's easy to clap to. Nobody in their right mind, lalo na yung mga nanonood in reality sa House of Representatives, will not clap to it. They will clap to it. So, it's a good ending note. So, magiging consistent yan kasi nga, it's a very popular issue that people can unite on. And he ran on unity. So, he wants to always end his speeches with something that people will applaud to.
Nuclear energy, another highlight from his speech.
Earth-shaking! Sabi ni Yusek Claire last week, may earth-shaking. So, nauna na yung kay former speaker. I think nuclear energy, among the other things we already discussed, is another earth-shaking announcement. But this one is, unlike yung mga pinag-usapan na natin, this one I think is more promise and futuristic rather than realistic. Ang sinabi lang naman ni Pangulo is we should be open to it and consider it. Gusto niya. Pero ang tanong, mangyayari ba? Syempre, madaming opposition because of environmental issues and of course, yung mga technical and feasibility studies. But it's a good idea in theory talaga. The devil is in the details. Kasi kung wala naman talagang mangyayaring masama, then let's go for it.
Also very divisive. Yung kunwari, yung sa tax relief, everyone would agree on that. National patriotism, everyone, madaling pagdating doon sa systems laws, okay, madali. With the issue of nuclear, medyo,
50-50, 60-40.
Sensitive.
I would even say, mas madami pang opposition so far. Parang sa tax silica, i-connect ko na kagad.
Yes.
Kasi ang nuclear energy at tax silica, there are always pros and cons eh. Kasi syempre may environmental issues yan. Especially tayo sa Pilipinas, unfortunately, have to be honest. Hindi magaling ang DENR natin in protecting the environment. Ang isa kong ang gusto sana na mabulatlat ng Pangulo na corruption ay sa DENR. Kasi ang daming napuputol na trees, ang daming nabibigay na permits na hindi naman dapat nabibigay. Mababantayan ba talaga yung environmental side nito? So that's the question sa nuclear energy tsaka sa tax silica. If only we look at the good things, no problem. Kaso nga, implementation usually, tsaka corruption and regulatory issues in terms of checking kung meron bang compliance, dyan mahina ang Pilipinas.
I agree with you, no? Parang I think this is more of a parang hope na lang ni Pangulo. I don't think it's possible within the next
more futuristic than
2 years.
realistic.
Yeah.
But if he does it, kung magawa niya, di ba? Baka legacy niya yun. Kung magawa niya.
Ano naman yung issues? So marami tayong napag-usapan na issues na highlights nung kanyang talumpati. Meron bang issue? Do you have an issue in mind na hindi nabanggit ng Pangulo?
Madami, no? Meron akong tatlong naisip. May notes akong ginawa dyan na yung mga hindi na-mention eh. 3 elephants in the room. Elephant kasi dapat pag-usapan niya kaso hindi niya pinag-usapan. Yung classroom acceleration program or building of classrooms, di ba, I think it has 6.7 billion pesos na allocation. Pero alam ko may ginagawa at mayroon ng mga nako-construct si Sec Sani Angara, DepEd. Ang problema ko nga, bakit si Sec Estrella lang yung na-special mention? Yung mga ibang cabinet secretaries hindi na special mention. Although, maganda yung mga ginagawa ni...
Although kanina may mga focus kila Secretary Dizon.
While the President is talking about their issues, pero walang specific or special mention. Si Darsec Estrella lang. But that's good for him, no? Na madaming mga nagagawa, madami pa daw gagawin, wag daw mag-retire. Pero itong sa Classroom Acceleration Program, kaya ako sinasabing elephant in the room kasi madami nang sinasabing DepEd programs pero hindi to na-mention. And itatanong to, hahanapin to ni Senator Bam Aquino. So, I don't know why hindi yan nasabi. Baka dahil nga wala pang nako-construct masyado. Meron, onti lang, iilan pa lang. Ang isa ding elephant in the room, barangay and SK elections. Kasi na-mention yung BARM. Tuloy daw yung BARM. And yet walang sinabi sa barangay and SK elections, that's November 2. Ipapapostpone ba niya ulit? Or matutuloy na kasi dapat magalit na ang Supreme Court or si Attorney Makalintal if mapostpone na naman. Kasi pinopostpone. So that's a elephant in the room. The other thing, I think, in terms of the West Philippine Sea, while he was strong on that, baka lang may maghanap, no? Not as the two I mentioned before, but pwede ding may maghanap on the issue of provisional understanding with China. Kasi yun yung naging diplomatic issue ngayon in terms of the BRP Sierra Madre, yung ating mga resupply missions doon. Meron daw secret agreement, ano ba yung teksto ng provisional understanding. But I can see it why hindi niya minention sa SONA. Ako lang, sa tingin ko, some of the observers of the West Philippine Sea will look for it from him. But the first two, yan, I think many people will look for classroom acceleration, the building of classrooms, and for barangay elections.
Kapag nung pinakinggan mo yung naging talumpati ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, do you think it gave a coherent vision ng kanyang magiging plano para sa remaining 2 years niya, which essentially would also write his legacy as a president?
Yes. When we were mentioning kanina yung starting off on a patriotic tone and ending on a patriotic tone, that's also actually legacy building na nga kasi this is his second to the last SONA. So I think ang gusto niyang maging legacy is about nationalism and patriotism, standing very strong or strongly on the issue of the West Philippine Sea, and on anti-corruption na wala siyang sinasanto na I am a president of the Republic, not of a specific group of people. So, legacy building na talaga yung SONA. And I can see the direction. I'm just not sure if it will sell right now. Titingnan na muna natin yung social media sentiment later. Pero, in terms of addressing the issue of electricity, kuryente, yung mga mobility, transportation, yung nuclear energy, which is forward-looking, I think he's hitting the right notes. So far, tingnan natin ang magiging sentiment ng karaniwang tao. Kung maramdaman nila, then he will build a legacy.
How about comparing this to his previous SONAs? Do we see a shift in his priorities or do we see some consistency with his messaging?
I think consistent kasi yung Pogo, he made it also a nationalistic issue, which is 2 years ago. And then of course, the flood control scam, which is a accountability/nationalistic issue. So, yun na nga nakikita ko he's trying to define his legacy by being seen as the patriotic or nationalistic president. Si Pinoy kasi, siya talaga yung anti-corruption And then si Duterte parang peace and order or anti-crime. Yun yung magiging single, if you look at one word or one phrase, yun yung magiging attachment sa bawat Pangulo So, kay Pangulong Marcos, mahirapan ako masabi na anti-corruption siya kasi nga meron din siyang corruption issues or questions hounding him before and that issue is strongly tied to Pinoy. But what he can claim is yung nationalism and sovereignty issue, if ever.
When you look at the character of the president and how people remember him, sometimes you can see that in the way they did their SONAs. The president has already done 5 speeches ng SONA. Ano yung nagiging hulma, kumbaga, ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos with regard to how people will remember his SONAs? Will he be, kasi last year, malinaw, Duterte was a strong man. May ganung, kumbaga, branding kanina nakausap ko si Professor Jean Franco, nabanggit niya na parang lalong na-highlight nga yung pagiging hindi strong man ni President Marcos given his father, plus predecessor pa niya ay si Pangulong Duterte. How about you? What kind of president is President Marcos being?
Well, in terms of being a strong man, I think conscious decision din kay Pangulong Marcos to walk away from that because of the shadow of his father, not necessarily to contrast himself with the past president, but that is just who he is. Actually, ako, if I would characterize the president, he's Machiavellian. It is better to be feared than to be loved. Many people remember that from Niccolo Machiavelli. Pero actually, ang isang lesson din ni Niccolo Machiavelli is it is better to be loved. But if you have no choice, it is better to be feared than to be loved. So President Marcos seems to be a president who wants to be loved. He wants to redeem his family name. He wants to redeem his own name. He wants to be loved by the people na he's addressing corruption, he's addressing the West Philippine Sea, he will address gut issues. So he doesn't want to be feared, unlike the previous president. Because if you read Niccolo Machiavelli, and by the way, I think the president has read that, no? Ang totoong lesson nun, it is better to be loved. But if you have no choice, it is better to be feared than to be loved. So ayaw niya dun sa pangalawa, doon siya sa primary.
How is he doing that? How is he doing doon sa kanya? If that's his goal, how is he doing in that mission? Because if you look, I mean, one indicator could be the surveys. If you look at the trust ratings, the performance ratings, it's currently at -7. It's better than the last survey, but it's still in the negative territory. So how would you assess if that's his mission?
Well,
how is he doing?
Aspiration is different from reality naman eh. You can always aspire. So he will always aspire to be loved. And I think the way he's doing it right now, how he is doing right now in terms of that, is that it's polarized. It's 50-50. Many people do not love him or hate him because nga the post-Duterte legacy is one of tribalistic politics. Meaning, meron ka na talagang kampo, meron ka ng faction. So there is a set of people who will never love him. And those who have loved him before still love him now. So he's actually trying to appeal to the independents and to the Pinklawans. The Marcos loyalists will stick with him. Parang sila, ayaw nila kay Amy Marcos. They stuck with the president. Yung mga DDS, mga pro-Duterte, they will never love him. And he knows that. The ones he is appealing to are the Pinklawans and the independent, who are different kasi may mga 20% of the Filipinos who do not want to be identified as any of the three. Who, ayaw nila nung label. Meron naman mga Pinklawan who identify as such, mga 15% or 20%. So I think those are the people he's trying to appeal to. And if you ask me how he is doing in terms of that, kasi hindi na nga natin pakialam yung Marcos loyalists and yung mga DDS, I think 60 to 70% he's doing well in terms of trying to appeal to those two segments.
Do you think President Marcos is still concerned about the 2028 national elections? Given that right now, wala pang matunog na administration candidate na as in identified as the administration candidate. Do you think he still wants to be involved in that or he has let it go?
Well, when I said Machiavellian kanina, no, that also meant that he's very calculating without appearing so. Yun ang problema sa mga detractors niya. Kasi he's always seen as a weak president. Pero may mga ilang DDS na who have disagreed with that, like Attorney Sal Panelo. He doesn't think BBM is a weak president. Ako, I don't think BBM is a weak president. He's a calculating president.
Can you elaborate on that,
He
please?
wants to look weak. He wants to be underestimated, but he's not. Actually, in reality. Paano ka magiging weak padala mo na si President Duterte sa The Hague? Napakulong mo si Kibuloy, si Alice Go, naban mo yung Pogos, na-weaken mo yung mga financial arms ng Duterte Network. Pinapa-impeach mo si VP Sara. Even though, of course, the show is
hands-off siya.
Oo, na hindi ako involved dyan. So, yung sinasabi mong, is he concerned about 2028? Definitely. Because existential threat sa pamilyang Marcos, and even to the country, of course, ako mas concerned ko yung sa country, no? But the Marcoses know it's an existential threat if Sara wins. Because it will be back to revenge and vindictive politics, which is what President Duterte was. Kasi ang unang ginawa ni Duterte, pakulong si De Lima. That is out of revenge. Many people might not realize because of the CHR, human rights, Loud Quarry, Davao City, in-investigate yan ni De Lima. So, alam niya ni BBM, ni Pangulo, na pag nanalo si Sara, everything will be very critical for the Marcos family. Yung sa admin candidate, meron siyang admin candidate, but again, he will not want to be seen as having an admin candidate.
Let's talk about Sara Duterte. Na-mention natin siya dito sa ating diskusyon.
Pero hindi na-mention ng Pangulo.
Her absence today, her physical absence and her absence in the speech of the president. Ano muna yung, sige, from both sides, ano yung mensahe ni BBM by excluding her in the speech? Ano yung mensahe naman ni VP Sara by not attending the SONA?
Well, again, he wants to pretend that he doesn't have a hand in the impeachment. So he will not, or he should not mention the Vice President in the SONA. So that is strategic. But he has a hand, no? Kasi in history, walang impeachment sa Pilipinas na walang kamay ng Pangulo, except yung kay Erap. But yung susunod na Pangulo pala yung may kamay nun. If in hindsight, PGMA had a hand in that, in the impeachment of Erap. Yung sa physical or actual absence naman ng ating pangalawang Pangulo, that's also very disappointing, no? Because she cannot transcend her own ego, her own emotions. Hindi niya kaya to attend kasi alam niya maiinis siya, maaasar siya. So that's very disappointing because she's not able to suck it up like Senator De Lima did and do your job. Listen to the president in terms of accomplishment and the future priorities and how you can help kasi she's still part of the government. The vice president, despite all of the political bickering, is still part of the government kahit wala siyang posisyon. So she still has to know and listen to the president's priorities. So this is another case of the vice president being more bakasyon than action.
Now, just to summarize, no, to close this interview, a couple more questions. So, number one, after listening to the speech of the president, do you think Filipinos, Pilipino din tayo, kayo, do you have more questions or are you more hopeful?
I think I'm hopeful. Kasi nga, we heard about some form of closure about the state of accountability on the flood control, although more to come pa dapat. And yun naman din ang sinabi ni Pangulo. Pero yung future pa in terms of nuclear energy, yun yung nakakapagpa-forward looking sa SONA na merong systems loss abolition, tax exemption sa income tax, nuclear energy or the possibility of it, more mobility, MRT7, etc. So, for me, ako as a person concerned about mobility, energy, and taxes, I am hopeful na madami pa palang pwedeng mabigay na ginhawa sa tao.
Next year will be the president's final State of the Nation address. Do you think, parang ano yan yung penultimate at yung final, parang alley-oop yan kumbaga, para slam dunk yung kahulihan mong SONA. Do you think the president should stick to this kind of pattern that he's been doing in his SONA? Or do you think na yung final SONA niya could be an opportunity for him to be more aggressive, mas may ngipin, kumbaga, sa kanyang mga statement? Not just, it could be a political message or it could be on the China issue.
Ang sagot, question mark It depends. It depends kung mapa-impeach si VP Sara. Everything else will follow What the president will think and say and do next year all depends on whether or not he can survive this political conflict between two families, the Marcos and the Duterte. If he doesn't, then he will be very weak coming in the SONA. In the last SONA of his presidency, if the vice president is not convicted, if the vice president comes out stronger after the impeachment, all else will not matter. He will look weak regardless.
Na-realize ko lang habang nag-uusap tayo na parang of course the president wants to show na hands off siya dito sa impeachment ni Vice President Sara. But if you look at it, hindi siya makakaiwas dahil because of the BIR records that would need his approval before ma-release dito sa impeachment.
Just like President Noynoy Aquino approved the opening of the BIR records, he will have to do that as well. So he will have some small part and he can never deny a connection anymore when he does that.
Say even allowing it or not allowing it is already a political message.
And I doubt he will not allow it. I doubt he will allow it.
Final question report card, ito na. Kung bibigyan mo ng report ng grado, si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos base sa kanyang SONA ngayong taon, ano ang grado?
Sa akin, 7 out of 10. Might sound harsh, no? Pero madami siyang mga sinabing maganda, madaming accomplishments, yakap, yung mga crop insurance, yung mobility, okay yun lahat. But as I said kanina, we have an elephant in the room. What about the classrooms? You gave the biggest budget. Wala akong narinig. So, malaking puntos yun away from his SONA speech. So, that's largely one of the main reasons why I can only give like 7 or 7.5 out of 10.
What's the biggest takeaway from this year's SONA?
The biggest takeaway is that the president is not weak. He's just pretending to be weak, but he's actually strong and calculating. He wants to be seen as nationalistic. He wants to redeem his family's name. he does not want to be bound by the baggages of his cousin or his family, his own name. He wants to tell the people, I am my own name.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Attorney Sus Falces, for your time. Very insightful
Thank you so much
discussion
for
with you.
inviting me.